Okay, good day. So we will be discussing the lesson 1 for the engineering economics, so which is the introduction. So this will be the content of the lesson, the definition of the economy, the basic flow in economy, the law of the supply and demand, factors influencing demand and supply, the different types of efficiency, the definition of engineering economics, the elements and types of cost, other costs and revenues, and also the break-even analysis. Okay, so first let us discuss the definition of economics. So when we say economics, it is the science that deals with the production and consumption of goods and services. So economics is part of social science, no? So this is a study wherein we're dealing with the production and consumption of goods and services, including its distribution and rendering of these for human welfare. So bakit nga po ba natin inaaral ang economics? Inaaral po natin ang economics because we want to achieve the following economic goals. So the following economic goals is to have a high level of employment. So if you have high level of employment, so maraming taong may trabaho, they have the capability to purchase goods and services. And also when you have high level of employment, ibig sabihin nagpo-produce ka ng goods and services. Next, we want to have price stability. So we want to have price stability because that is one indicator na stable po yung ating economy. So namamanage natin yung prices, hindi po siya nag-inflate. And then, we want efficiency. We want efficiency in terms of producing the goods and services, efficiency in terms of distributing the goods and services, and efficiency in terms of consumption. So why? Because economic resources are limited. And lahat po kasi ng process rin natin sa economics, they have cost na kaakibat which we want to lessen, and that's why we want to be efficient. Then we need or we want to achieve an equitable distribution of income. So ang income po dapat na na-generate ng isang ekonomiya, ng isang bansa is supposedly is distributed among its constituents and subjects, ano. So dapat po yung layo ng mga mayaman tsaka may hirap ay hindi po ganun ka sobrang laki ng kanyang gap, and yung amount ng GDP natin, ano, so dapat malaki rin po yung porsyento na napupunta sa malaking bahagi ng populasyon. So we want an equitable distribution of income kasi ibig sabihin nare-redistribute natin yung wealth, no? Nare-redistribute natin yung mga economic resources natin sa lahat din naman ng mga tao na nasa isang bansa. Kaya nga meron tayong taxation, no? Kasi ang isang mayaman kapag kumita yan, tinataksan yan sila, then the taxes will be distributed, no, as a form of government services, as a form of help from the government, as a form of salary, no, and social services, sa health. So nare-redistribute siya dun sa mga subject in a sense. Then we want to have growth. So we want to have economic growth. So gusto po natin na lumalaki yung GDP natin. Gusto po natin na napapataas yung ating export, napapababa yung ating import. Gusto po natin lumalaki yung business investments, yung consumption din, and also dapat na ma-manage po natin yung na-manage natin ng maayos, no, yung ating mga economic resources. The goals of the economic goals are not always complementary. So hindi po sa lahat ng pagkakataon they are complementary or nagtutulungan. In many cases they are in conflict. So magbigay po tayo ng example. Halimbawa po is a high level of employment. So, if you have high level of employment, maraming tao na nagtatrabaho, maraming tao na may capability na mag-purchase ng goods and services. And kapag kaganon, kapag hindi nakahabol no, yung supply sa mga produkto, there could be a price instability. So, hindi natin mas-stabilize ang presyo. Kasi nga, dumadami ang pera ng tao, may panggastos, may pambili siya. So, possible na yung price stability is ma-compromise. So, hindi po sa lahat ng pagkakataon they are complementary. That's why we need balance for these economic goals. Okay, so, next, let us discuss, So, bakit nga ba natin naaral ang economics maliban sa mga economic goals na ito? So, ang reality po kasi yung ating mga resources, they are limited. No? Ang resources po natin ay limitado. Paano limitado? So, halimbawa, yung land is limited kasi hindi naman na madadagdagan yung land, no? Even the water around us, limited lang rin yan, So, mga resources po natin ay limited. So, ang problem po kasi sa economics, dahil limited yung ating resources, pero ang tao kasi, yung human needs, yung wants ng tao ay unlimited. That's the problem, Yung ating resources, limitado. Pero yung ating kagustuhan, yung ating pangangailangan is unlimited. Kumbaga wala tayong satisfaction. Let's say for example na lang kung halimbawang libre lahat ng pagkain, 'di ba? So kain ka lang ng kain. So nagkataon lang talaga na may bayad. So limited lang yung kakainin mo. Pero kung walang walang tigil yan or walang price yan or mura lang presyo yan, malamang marami kang i-consume. Halimbawa, sa mga gadgets mo, kung mababa lang ang presyo niyan, I'm sure bibili ka ng hindi lang isang cellphone, siguro meron ka, baka sobrang dami. Or halimbawa, may sasakyan ka, kapag kung bahay, syempre enough ba sa'yo na isang bahay lang. Ang satisfaction ng tao hindi po nag-e-end dyan lang. So, baka gusto mo may bahay ka sa Valenzuela City, may bahay ka pa sa mga probinsya, may bahay ka pa sa abroad. So, that's the thing. Ang resources po kasi natin ay limitado, pero yung kagustuhan ng tao ay unlimited. So, ito po talaga ang katotohanan. So, ang iniwasan po kasi natin dito ay yung tinatawag na scarcity. Pag sinabing scarcity, kakapusan, This is a permanent state wherein wala ng resources na ubos na. Scarcity, wala. Then, iniwasan natin dito yung short term lang naman ito, shortage. Shortage, mas madaling masolusyonan ng shortage kaysa kay scarcity kasi scarcity is it could be a permanent thing, So talagang wala ng resources. Pero sa shortage, pwede mo pa siyang ma-manage kasi nga shortage means kakulangan, scarcity means kakapusan. So shortage, pwede mo pa siyang makontrol, pwede mong taasan yung presyo, magkaroon ng control sa part ng supplier and sa part ni government. Pwede kang magdagdag ng product na ipoproduce mo para mapigilan mo yung shortage. Pero ang scarcity, ito yung mahirap, yung talagang naubos lahat ng resources. Kaya nga in this current condition na yung energy, yung energy demand, 'di ba, pinag-aawayan niyo yung mga langis. Kaya nga nagigirahan yung mga bansa dahil kailangan nila ng resources. Kasi hindi naman ganun kadaling makagawa or makahanap basta-basta ng resources to fund yung pangangailangan sa energy. Kaya nga nung nagkaroon ng war, 'di ba? So anong nangyari? Nagsigtaasan ng mga presyo. Kasi nagkaroon ng shortage in terms of supply nung gas, nung langis. So, ito yung mahirap, scarcity. Kasi nga, this could be reversible. Okay, so yun po yung pinagmulan ng pag-aaral ng economics. Basically, you have limited resources, pero nga yung human wants and needs is unlimited, walang hanggan. So, hindi tayo nasasatisfy basta-basta. Kumbaga, gusto pa natin ng more, And of course, by studying yung economics, we have these economic goals. Ano yung mga gusto nating ma-achieve? Ito nga yun, ano? Kasi itong mga to, kapag check yung mga yan, so basically, we know na okay yung economy natin as a whole. So, medyo marami pong mga factors, stakeholders, maraming mga bahagi pag pinag-uusapan natin ang ekonomiya. So, basically, lahat tayo dito kasali. Kasi nga, sino bang hindi nangangailangan ng resources? Sino bang hindi bumibili ng mga produkto, ng serbisyo? So, lahat tayo talaga is dapat inaaral itong economics. So, we have the flow in an economy. So, paano nga ba nag-flow ang goods and services? So, hindi lang po goods or products yung nag-flow. Kasama rin dyan yung serbisyo. Serbisyo, let's say for example, when you're teaching, halimbawa nagmamanicure ka, driver ka, services. Goods is products or items. Then, the resources, the money payments in a simple economy. So, in a flow of economy, meron po tayong simple diagram. We have businesses. Ano bang ginagawa ni businesses? Si businesses, sila yung nagpo-provide ng goods and services para sa mga consumer. So, sila yung nagpa-process, gumagawa ng produkto from raw material, gagawin nilang finished product. Gagawin yun ni businesses. So, anong gagawin ni businesses doon? Gagawin ni businesses, ibebenta niya, no? Ibebenta niya kay consumer. Or in this case, tinawag siya na household. So, tayo magko-consume ng final goods and services that was produced by the businesses and services, no? Kung ano yung pinroduce ng businesses and services, yun yung i-consume ni consumer or ng household. Bilang kapalit, anong gagawin? Si household, bilang kapalit, dahil kumonsumo siya ng final goods and services, ang gagawin niya, magbabayad siya ngayon ng pera para dun kay consumer, para dun sa consumer goods and services na kinonsume niya or kinamit niya papunta kay businesses. Then, etong si household naman, ano naman yung kanyang pinoprovide kay businesses? Si household, ang pinoprovide naman niya kay businesses ay productive inputs. Ito yung mga inputs para umandar yung isang negosyo. Ano tong mga productive inputs na ito? Ang mga productive inputs po na ito po ay mga economic resources. Pwede po siyang maging land. Di ba nga may mga tao nagpaparenta ng kanilang mga lupa na ginagamit ng negosyo para makapag-produce yung isang negosyo. Halimbawa, nagtayo ng retail store si Dali, no? Si 7-Eleven or si what do you call this? Alphamart, no? So, di ba, they need land. So, itong si household or consumer, pwedeng iparenta yung land niya. Then, kasama rin dyan yung labor. Kasi nga, si household, saan ka ba kukuha ng empleyado, di ba? Sa mga consumer din mismo. So, labor and also capital. Capital in a sense na, di ba, ang consumer or yung mga tawag kasi dyan sa kanila, mga retail investor yan kung sa stock market yan So, sila, pwede silang mag-provide ng capital na gamitin na business para ma-expand niya yung business niya and makapag-produce pa siya ng mas maraming goods and services. Then, yung mga resources na yon, gagamitin po yun ng business as inputs na pinrovide ni household para makapag-provide siya ng goods and services dun kay household or kay consumer. Then, ano naman gagawin? Dahil nag-provide si household ng inputs kay business, ang gagawin naman ni business, syempre babayaran niya ngayon itong si household or si consumer. Monetary payment sa paggamit niya ng mga resources in terms of rents, kapag nagparenta siya ng land, in terms of wages, kasi nag-provide siya ng labor, so babayaran mo ng wages, and salaries. Kasama rin dyan yung interest and profits or dividends kapag nag-provide naman si household ng capital. So, ang economy po is actually ay circular yan No? So, nakadepende tayo sa isa't isa bilang bahagi ng ekonomiya, bilang part ng flow sa ating economy. And then, meron po tayong tinatawag na demand and supply or the law of demand and supply. An interesting aspect of the economy is that the demand and supply of a product are interdependent and they are sensitive with respect to the price of that product. So, pag sinabi nating demand, ito yung demand for a product or kagustuhan sa isang produkto. Kapag supply naman, ito naman yung amount ng quantity na ipoproduce no? Para sa mga consumer, para mapuna naman yung demand. So sila daw ay interdependent and sensitive po yan sa price. So actually self-explanatory. Syempre nakadepende sa price yung magiging demand mo and magiging supply mo. So unahin natin si supply. Etong nasa y-axis, this quantity, no? So ibig sabihin niyan yung amount ng product na pwedeng i-supply and amount ng product na merong demand. And then ito namang sa y-axis, yan naman yung magiging price ni supply tsaka ni demand. So ang tawag po dito is demand and supply curve. So sino bang nagsusupply ng isang produkto? 'Di ba mga businesses? Dahil si businesses yung nagsusupply ng isang produkto, ano bang goal niyan? Syempre ang goal niyan kumita. So ito po pag-usapan natin ano. So ito yung 0, mula rito papunta rito, sa dulo papataas yung quantity. Then ito yung 0, mula rito papunta dito, papataas yung price. Okay. So bilang isang business, syempre, magsusupply ka ng product kapag mataas ang presyo. So, tingnan nyo, kapag mataas si price, halimbawa, ito yung price. Kapag mataas si price, tingnan nyo kung gaano kalaking quantity ng demand yung gusto niyang gawin, no? So, mataas yung quantity, mataas yung quantity ng supply na gusto niyang i-produce. Kasi mataas yung price eh. So, pag mataas yung price ng isang produkto, ganadong-ganado si supplier or si business na gumawa para kumita siya. O let's say for example, mababa yung price dito tayo. Kapag mababa yung price, ito gawin natin P sub 1, ito gawin natin P sub 2. Pag mababa yung price, tingnan niyo yung quantity. 'Di ba? So mababang quantity rin, tawagin natin tong Q sub 2. Mababang quantity din ng supply yung gusto niyang i-produce. Bakit? Kasi wala siyang kikitain. So ba't siya gagawa ng maraming quantity nun? Kasi mababa yung presyo. So, hindi siya willing or ayaw niyang mag-produce or konti lang yung willing niyang i-produce na amount. Pero kung mataas yung price, magpo-produce siya ng malaking quantity ng produkto na yun o ng serbisyo na yun. Yun po yung sa supply. The next naman is yung demand curve, ano? O, kapag mababa yung price, let's say for example dito. Kapag mababa yung price, tawagin natin itong P sub 1. So, tingnan nyo gaano kalaki yung quantity. O, diba? Malaki yung quantity. Kasi malayo siya sa 0. Malaki yung quantity kapag mababa yung price. Kasi nga, kaya mong bumili ng marami nun. So, pwede kang magkaroon ng malaking quantity ng demand. Pero kung yung presyo ng isang produkto, let's say for example, mataas, tawagin natin itong P sub 2. O mataas yung presyo ng produkto, tingnan nyo yung quantity ng demand. Tawagin natin itong Q sub 2. Yung quantity ng demand dyan, mababa. Bakit? Kasi ayaw mong bumili ng produkto na sobrang mahal. Pero kung ang produkto sobrang mura, sobrang taas rin naman ng quantity mo. So yun po yung demand and supply curve. Next naman, the point of intersection of the supply. Ito yun, no? The point of intersection of the supply curve and the demand curve is known as the equilibrium point. So yung gitna po na to, ang tawag dyan ay equilibrium point. So ano yung equilibrium point na yan? At the price corresponding to this point, the quantity of supply is equal to the quantity of demand. So, yung quantity ni supply ay equal sa quantity ni demand. So, ganun yung presyo. So, ibig sabihin, at this point, willing si supplier mag-supply ng ganyan kadaming quantity sa ganyang presyo. And willing rin si consumer na kumuha ng ganyan kadaming demand at that price din. So, yan yung kumbaga price na parang magkakasundo sila. Okay lang kay supplier mag-supply ng ganyang quantity and at that price, okay lang rin kay demand na bumili ng ganyang kadaming quantity at that price. Kumbaga, yan yung price na nagkasundo yung kanilang mga interest. So, next, we have the factors of influencing demand. So, ano yung mga factors na nakaka-apekto sa demand? The shape of the demand curve is influenced by the following factors. So, yung una is the income of the people. So, this is self-explanatory. Kung marami kang pera, marami kang pambili. Kung wala kang pera, wala kang pambili. So, kapag mataas ang income mo, o marami kang pambili. Kung mababang income, wala kang masyadong pambili, di ba? So, nagmamatter yung income ng tao. O kung walang mga pera yung mga tao, o mahina ekonomiya, walang consumption na mangyayari. So, dahil walang consumption ng goods and services, wala rin gagawin sa business na ipoproduce na products and services or goods and services. Next naman is the prices of related goods. The price of television sets is lowered drastically, its demand would naturally go up. As a result, the demand of its associated product, namely VCDs, would also increase. So, prices of related goods, kapag bumaba yung presyo ng related goods or nagkaroon ng demand sa isang related goods, ay sa isang goods, yung related goods nun is magkakaroon rin ng demand, no? O let's say, for example, mababa ang presyo ng isang sasakyan, no? Halimbawa lang, sobrang mura ng car. Mababa yung kanyang price. O syempre, tataas yung demand para kay car, maraming gustong bumili. Dahil maraming bumili ng car, ngayon, tataas ngayon yung demand sa related goods niya. Ano ba yung related goods neto ni car or sasakyan? Di ba yan ay fuel, no? Siyempre, marami ngayong magko-consume ng gasolina. So, prices of related goods. So, kung bumaba si car, magkakaroon ng demand para kay fuel. Example kasi nakalagay rito is yung price ng TV and then VCD. Hindi na rin naman uso yung VCD ngayon kasi naka-Netflix na, di ba? So, yun po, no? Related goods. Next is the taste of the consumer. So, obviously, yung taste ni consumer, nakakapekto din yan sa demand. O, halimbawa naman, dumami daw yung merong diabetes, no? Dumami yung diabetic people. Ngayon, magkakaroon ng demand para sa mga product na sugar-free, no? Depende rin sa taste ng tao. Kung ano na yung hilig nila, ano nang gusto nila. And alam naman natin, nagbabago yung taste ng tao or mga gusto nila, no? So, depende sa panahon. Siyempre, nag-iiba rin yung generation, nag-iiba na rin yung parang upbringing nila. Nag-iba na rin yung kanilang mga mindset, nag-iba na rin kanilang mga taste. Kagaya niya, no, yung dati hindi naman uso yung samgyup, bigla na lang nag-boom yan eh. So lahat parang naging Korean naging Koreano na, Koreana. Kunyari talagang mga lokal sila sa Korea, parang ganun na sila gumalaw, di ba, or kumain. O lahat ng mga Korean products, binibili nila. So depende sa taste, no, ng consumer. Pati nga buhok, ginagaya nila eh. Actually, lahat na, kahit mainit yung panahon, minsan nagja-jacket. So, depende, no, sa taste ng tao, yung magiging demand. Next naman is the factors influencing the supply. So, ano yung mga factors na nakakapekto sa supply? So, next is the cost of the inputs or cost ng mga tinatawag nating raw materials. Diba? Inputs is yung mga raw materials or mga resources na kailangan mo to produce a certain product or services. Okay, so paano ito, no? In terms of the cost of the input, syempre, kung mahal yung mga raw materials, naturally, the cost of the product will also go up kasi mahal yung raw materials mo eh. Mas mahal yung expenses o yung cost mo in producing a certain product. In such a situation, all the prevailing price of the product and the profit margin per unit will be less. Ngayon, magiging mas mababa yung income ngayon ni business. Kaya po siya nakakapekto in terms of supply. So, kung bumababa yung income ng business sa isang product, mas konti yung quantity na ipoproduce niya kasi nga bumababa. Pero halimbawa naman yung cost ng inputs mo ay sobrang mura, o edi mas willing or ganado si business na mag-produce ng product din kasi mura lang naman yung raw materials or resources na kakailanganin niya to produce a certain product. So, mas willing siyang ibenta kasi mas malaki yung magiging profit margin niya. Next is technology. So, technology, kapag may advancement sa technology, so possible po niyang mapadami or mapabilis yung production ng goods, ng products, o di kaya ng services. So, initially, magiging mahal yan, pero in the long run, mas magiging mababa na po yung magiging production cost. So, syempre, kung manual labor ka lang, o mas konti, syempre, mapoproduce mo na produkto kasi manual labor ka lang eh. Pero kung may technology yan, may mechanization na nangyayari sa isang business, so mas marami siyang kayang maproduce na quantity ng products and services. Then, isa pang factor is yung weather. Demand for woolen products will increase during winter. This means the prices of woolen goods will be increased in winter. No? So, para sa malalamig na bansa, kapag ka-winter daw, mas tumataas yung demand para sa mga woolen products. Yung mga, siguro, mga jackets nila or mga hand gloves nila, no? O kagaya naman sa Pilipinas, halimbawa naman kapag summer, mataas yung demand sa aircon. Kaya mas mahal yung prices ng aircon during summer. Pero kapag tag-ulan, wala namang may demand masyado sa aircon kapag tag-ulan. So therefore, mas mababa ngayon yung prices ng aircon kapag tag-ulan. So nakakapekto po yung weather. Next is the prices of the related goods. So same lang din kanina, no? Kung may demand sa isang product, so magkakaroon din ng demand sa isa pang product na related doon. Kaya mangyayari, makaka-apekto yan sa supply. Kasi syempre, magpuproduce si supplier ng ganung produkto. Okay. So next is the concept of engineering economics. So para saan nga ba itong inaaral natin na engineering economics? We know that science is a field of study where the basic principles of different physical systems are formulated and tested. So, yun definition natin sa science. Engineering naman is the application of science. So, hindi lang po science, no? Yan po ay application both ng science and mathematics. It establishes varied application systems based on different scientific principles. So, i-utilize natin yung knowledge natin kay mathematics and sciences. Kaya po nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na engineering. Pero we know that from the discussions kanina in this previous section, it is clear that price has a major role. So malaki pong factor yung price pagdating po sa isang demand and supply ng certain product. So parati po nating isipin na kahit gaano pa kaganda yung isang produkto, pero kung sobrang mahal naman yan, wala namang bibili niyan, no? Kasi hindi rin naman nila afford. O di kaya kahit gaano pa kaganda yung isang produkto, kung hindi rin naman efficient yung pag-manufacture niyan, kaya konti lang yung napoproduce mo, kaya napipilitan si business na taasan yung presyo, and then hindi naman ma-afford ng consumer, wala kang market na pwedeng bumili ng produkto na yon. So bali wala, kahit gaano pa kaganda yan or gaano pa ka-scientific, breakthrough yan. So, pag pinag-uusapan natin yung engineering economics, ang ginagawa po natin dito is yung knowledge natin sa engineering, yung technical knowledge natin sa engineering, dapat po hahaluan po natin yan ng concept ng economics. Kailangang isipin natin parati yung kanyang economical or financial viability. Kumbaga yung price na kaakibat. Kasi lahat naman ng galaw natin or lahat naman, merong may kaakibat na presyo yan, no? So kapag gumagawa ka ng decision, may kaakibat na presyo yan. So if you are choosing between two alternatives, so kailangan mong pumili ng solution na magiging economically and financially viable. Kumbaga mas makakamura si business or si organization. Hence, from the organization's point of view, efficient and effective functioning of the organization would certainly help it to provide goods and services at a lower cost. So, mas magiging effective kay business kung kaya niyang maiproduce yung isang produkto at a lower cost. So, dito papasok yung concept mo sa engineering kung pwede bang makapag-suggest ka ng mga technology or mechanization adoption or makapag-suggest ka ng panibagong process na mas mapapababa yung production cost, na mas mapapababa yung price ng product na pinoproduce ni organization para mas malaki yung kanyang magiging profit or kumbaga mas magiging competitive siya, mas magiging efficient siya, and mas magiging effective siya. Which in turn will enable it to fix a lower price for its goods and services. Kasi alam natin na kapag mura, malaki yung demand. Lalo na kung mura na, maganda pa, di ba? Yung mismong goods and services. Mas malaki yung magiging demand ron. So ngayon, mas malaki yung kikitain ni organization. So, doon po makakatulong yung engineer. Kasi ang engineer, pagka nag-apply naman yan na trabaho, magiging engineer supervisor yan, engineer manager yan. So, kailangan niya ng knowledge sa economics para mag-perform well siya sa kanyang trabaho. Kumbaga, hindi pwede na yung mga pinipili mong decision sobrang magastos dun sa part ni company or malulugi si kumpanya. Kasi business yan. Ang goal pa rin yan is magkaroon ng magandang profit or magkaroon ng magandang margin. So, we have different types of efficiency. So, first, let us discuss efficiency. So, pag sabi natin efficiency of a system, it is generally defined as the ratio of its output to input. So, ang efficiency po ay ratio ng output over input. So, kahit saan kang magpunta, no? Ito parati ang description ni efficiency. Output over input. The efficiency can be classified into technical efficiency and economic efficiency. So, ito yung kanyang sub-classification. So, magkaiba pong dalawang yan, pero mag-same lang naman sila ng formula, pero magkaiba sila ng tinutukoy. So, unahin po natin yung tinatawag na technical efficiency. So, ito yung madalas na ginagamit when we're talking about research, kapag tinitingnan natin yung mga ina-innovate natin. So, tinitingnan natin yung efficiency ng isang system or efficiency ng isang prototype or ng isang product. Alam natin kung nag-improve siya. So, let's say for example, let's read the definition muna. It is the ratio of the output to input of a physical system. The physical system may be a diesel engine, a machine working in a shop floor, or a furnace, and etc. So, technical efficiency is still output over input. And ito po yung kanyang formula in terms of percent. That is input over output times 100 para maging percentage po siya. So, technical efficiency, inaalam natin dito kung gaano ka-efficient yung isang system from converting its input papunta sa output. So, piniprevent natin dito sa technical efficiency is yung losses, Pinipigilan natin yung losses dito o yung nasasayang or nagiging loss. So, halimbawa, for our input, ito, and then for our output, itong side na ito. So, ano yung system natin? Yung system natin is yung nasa gitna. Let's say for example, yung system natin o yung product natin is light bulb. Ano ba yung input natin para sa light bulb? Ang input natin sa light bulb is electrical energy or electrical power. Ano ba yung gusto nating output para kay light bulb? Ang gusto nating output para kay light bulb is light energy or kumbaga yung buong electrical energy na yun, gusto natin ma-convert yan into light energy. Pero alam na naman natin na yung bulb, kapag sinindihan mo yan, hindi naman lahat ng energy na pinasok mo dyan as input, yung kumbaga yung bulb yung magiging system mo, hindi naman lahat yan magiging output, magiging light. So ano po yung nagiging losses dyan? Yung nagiging losses dyan ay heat energy. So, ayaw man natin magkaroon ng heat energy, pero yung mismong physical system natin, which is si light bulb, nagpo-produce siya ng heat. Pero ang intended natin sa kanya dapat, ang ipoproduce niya ay liwanag. So, ang gagawin mo rito, you're going to divide the ratio ng output over dun sa input. Kasi sa inaalam mo nga kapag efficiency, gaano ka-efficient yung isang system, yung isang product, o yung isang prototype, o yung isang process from converting all of its input papuntang output. So, let's say, for example, kinumpute natin yung electrical input, Yung lumabas, kunyari, ay 20 watts as input. Then, yung naging output natin dyan, for its light energy, upon calculation, let's say, for example, ay power pala to, palitan natin siya ng joules. Kasi energy yung nilagay ko rito. So, let's say, for example, 20 joules electrical energy as input. And then, yung naging output niya, let's say, for example, is 18 joules ng light energy. So, ilan yung nagiging losses? Naging losses niya rito ay 2 joules. Naging heat. So, to determine for its efficiency, that is output over input. So, 18 joules over 20 joules. So, dapat po same unit yan. Kasi ang efficiency ay unitless. So, ang answer po natin dito ay 0.9 in decimal. Pero magmumultiply ka pa ng 100 to make it a percent. So, ito ay 90% efficient. Yung light bulb natin as a physical system or as a machine, na nag-work. So, yun po yung ibig sabihin ng technical efficiency. Inaalam natin kung how much yung input naging output, naging intended output. So, ibig sabihin po nito, yung 10% napunta siya as losses. 90% lang nako-convert niya from input na naging output. So, yun po yung technical efficiency. So, hindi naman kailangan na energy, So, pwede ka naman gumamit ng ibang unit. So, actually, power, pwede mo rin naman gamitin dyan. Or any other quantity, basta mag-equal lang siya. Mag-equal, mag-same unit lang sila. So, we have example here for technical efficiency. Ang ginamit po nila rito is yung diesel engine, no? Kasi ano bang ginagawa ng diesel engine? Diesel engine converts the fuel or yung chemical energy na meron dyan, papuntang mechanical kasi aandar yung sasakyan mo o yung motor mo, di ba? So, yung fuel, papuntang mechanical work, Pero ang ginawa po rito, to convert the technical efficiency, kinuha yung input. Anong input natin? Fuel. So, kinuha yung heat equivalent of fuel used. Heat equivalent, which means yun yung parang heat energy na katumbas nung fuel. Then, yung output mo dito is yung mechanical energy produced. So, kinuha ngayon itong mechanical energy ng ating diesel engine, no? Yung na-convert into mechanical energy. So, kinuha ngayon siya. Tinitingnan kung gaano ka-efficient yung machine o yung diesel engine na kino-convert niya yung fuel o yung heat equivalent to fuel papuntang mechanical energy in terms of heat. No? So, tinitingnan kung gaano ka-efficient yung diesel engine, kung gaano siya ka-efficient sa paggamit niya ng gasolina. Di ba pagka sasakyan may nakalagay dyan, let's say for example, 100 km per liter. So, kung gusto mo mapataas yung efficiency, so dapat mas mataas yung kilometer na natatakbo niya per liter. Ibig sabihin, nako-convert niya into malaking part ng fuel is converted into its intended output talaga. No? So, pwedeng iba-ibang unit. So, ito ginamit niya heat equivalent. So, technical efficiency can never be more than 100%. So, ang sagot mo lang po dyan is 0% up to 100% lang. Hindi siya pwedeng lumagpas. This is mainly due to the frictional loss and incomplete combustion of fuel. So, 0 to 100%. So, basically, wala namang 100% efficient na system. There's always a losses, Parang sa kuryente lang yan, no? Pag nag-deliver ka ng kuryente, kung ano yung na-generate mo, dadaan yun sa kable, magiging init yan, tinatawag na losses, and then, yung na-receive lang nung tao sa kabilang end, yun yung magiging output mo. So, input mo is yung na-generate mo, losses mo is yung nawala during delivery ng electricity along the wire, na nako-convert into heat. And then, output mo naman is yung kinonsume ng mga end user or ng mga consumer. Wala naman talagang 100% efficient na system. Ang ini-aim natin dito is mapataas yung efficiency, kumbaga magkaroon ng improvement to prevent those losses. Kasi nga hindi mo na rin naman mare-recover yung mga losses na yun. O, kung sa frictional loss naman, halimbawa yung sa engine kanina, since mechanical yun, dapat maganda yung bearing, no? Para may iwasan yung frictional loss, makapag-move siya ng maayos. So, bawal po siyang lumagpas ng 100%. Next naman, meron po tayong tinatawag na economic efficiency, which is also known as productivity. So, economic efficiency is the ratio of output to input of a business system. Ito naman po pinag-uusapan natin business system. Kanina kasi physical system yun, no? So, in terms of physics yun, kumbaga. Ito, in terms of negosyo. Economic efficiency is output over input times 100%. Ano tong output na ito? Output is yung naging worth or naging halaga ng product. Then, yung input mo naman, yun naman yung naging cost ng pag-create ng product multiplied by 100%. Okay, so worth is the annual revenue generated by the way of operating the business. Magkano yung kinita o yung annual revenue by operating the business nung nabenta nyo yung mga products and services nyo. Cost naman is the total annual expenses or magkano yung naging gastos mo that you incurred or did you carry to do your business. So, magkano yung expenses, no, na na-incur or na, kumbaga na ano nyo, na nadala nyo or na nagastos nyo by carrying out the business. Magkano yung pinaka-total na cost. For the survival and growth of any business, the economic efficiency should be more than 100%. So, economic efficiency is more than 100% kasi ito ay business. So, dapat meron niyang profit. Okay, magbigay po tayo ng example, no? Let's say, for example, for our input, let's take, for example, yung yung patahian or patahian ng mga damit. Or sa, ang tawag dito? Basta yung mga patahian, no? So, halimbawa, gumagawa ng t-shirt. Di ba, ano ba yung magiging input mo pag gumawa ka ng t-shirt? Kailangan mo dyan ng raw materials. Di ba? Ano pa? Yung labor force, no? Yung gumagawa ng tao. Basically, labor cost yan. And then, ano pa? Raw material. Ayan yung mga tela, yung mga karayom, sinulid, etc. Labor force. And then, kasama rin dyan sa equipment, no? Kasi syempre, kailangan mo ng equipment kapag nagtatahi ka. So, halimbawa na lang, raw material na lang kunyari yung magiging input natin, no? For our input, meron tayong tela. Then, for our output natin is yung pinaka-t-shirt na, di ba? So, picture ng t-shirt. Oh, ayan. Ano ba, sando na lang, no? Ito yung input mo, ito yung output mo. And then, syempre, kung tela lang yan, mura lang yan kasi di pa naman tahi yan eh. Di pa naman talaga gawa yan, di ba? So, halimbawa na lang, yung nagastos na lang natin for our input, lahat-lahat yan, let's say for example is 1 million, no? Kasama na yung raw material, labor force, equipment, etc. And then for our output, nung naging damit na yan, syempre, mabebenta mo na yan ng mas mahal. So, yung magiging worth mo or magiging output mo, halimbawa na lang ay 1.5 million, no? From its input na tela, labor force, and equipment, 1 million lahat yung cost. Then, naging output natin, which is nung naging sando na siya, naibenta natin siya lahat nung naging 1.5 million na. So, ilan yung magiging efficiency mo dyan? So, magiging efficiency mo dyan is output over input. So, yung worth ng product na yon ay 1.5 million. Then, yung cost naman yan is 1 million pesos. So, cancel yung million. That will be 1.5. Gagawin natin percentage yan. So, times 100. So, that is equal to 150%. So, move to 2 decimal places lang, no? So, kapag economic efficiency, talagang mas malaki po yan sa 100% kasi nga kumikita yan, nagpo-profit yan. Mas nabebenta nila ng mas mahal yung kanilang produkto. So, for the survival and growth of any business, the economic efficiency should be more than 100%. Dapat more than 100% siya. Unlike kanina sa technical efficiency, hindi yan lalagpas ng 100% kasi yun ay physical constraint na ng nature. Parating merong losses. You can increase the efficiency pero you cannot be more than 100%. Kasi kung ano lang yung input mo, malamang around dun lang yung magiging output mo, hindi ka nalalagpas. Kasi kung lumagpas ka, saan ang galing yun, di ba? Kasi nga sa natin, sa energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transform from one form to another. So, we have conservation ng energy. So, limit, lang talaga, no? Constraint siya na 0 to 100% na efficiency mo or around lang naman yan, no? 100%. So, let's say for example, bumili ka ng ref, 'di ba, sa tindahan or sa mall, makikita mo yung mga star yun, 'di ba, star rating. So, sinusukat dun kung gaano ka-efficient yung ref nyo sa paggamit ng electrical energy dun sa pag-freeze niya or pagpapalamig niya ng mga foods or pag-convert niya ng energy, no? So, you can buy product that is efficient. Halimbawa rin naman sa aircon in terms of technical efficiency. So, mas mataas ang technical efficiency ng inverter na aircon kaysa sa hindi inverter na aircon. Kapag economic efficiency naman, ano naman ito? This amount of worth over the cost, no? Magkano naging halaga ng product na pinroduce over dun sa naging total cost nung pag-produce na yun. So, it could be more than 100% kasi nga tinutubuan yan. Then, what are the ways to improve the economic efficiency or the productivity? So, you can increase the output for the same input. So, paano po niya nagawa? So, sa example na to, ang ginawa niya, kaya niya na-increase si output, same lang naman yung input, kasi parang nilipat niya yung, yung facilities, binago yung layout. So, dahil binago yung layout, mas magkalapit na sila sa isa't isa, yung magkasunod na process, mas mabilis ngayon yung kanilang production. Mas marami silang na-produce na products. Ang ginawa lang naman, nilipat lang yung lugar ng isang magkasunod na proseso. Kasi syempre, di ba, nabawasan nung time, nung mas naging efficient nung process. Kanina sa example natin, yung sa tela. O syempre, yung tela, same input, no? So, yung output mo lang dyan, alibawa kanina, sando. O, halimbawa, ito yun, no? Siyempre, pagdating sa tela, same input pa rin naman yan. So, pwede mong gawin, para ma-increase yung output mo, itong retaso na to, kasi gugupitin mo yan, di ba? Yung retaso na yan, pwede mo siyang i-convert into basahan, no? So, pag kinonvert mo yun as basahan, yung mga retaso na yan, you can increase your output, pero same input pa rin naman. You can decrease the input for the same output. So, pwede, para makatipid po, ay i-decrease daw natin yung input, pero same yung output. Kasi di ba ang formula nun kanina ay worth over cost. So, gagawin, same lang yung worth o yung output, and then, i-decrease natin si cost o yung kanyang input. So, paano magagawa yun? Halimbawa, you can find a substitute raw material. Pwede ka maghanap ng substitute raw material para makatipid ka rin sa material cost. Or pwede mong gawin, maghanap ka ng ibang supplier na nagsusupply ng same material, same lang rin naman ng mga properties or same lang ng mga specifications para ma-reduce mo yung cost. So, by reducing the cost, you're reducing the input ng same yung output. So, dahil bumaba yung sa denominator, same lang naman sa numerator, so tataas yung iyong economic efficiency. And then next is, the less proportionate increase in output is more than that of the output. So, ito ang gagawin, no? Diba ang efficiency natin kanina ay output over input. So, ang gagawin, mas malaki yung increase kay output compare mo sa, kung mag-increase ka man ng input, mas malaki pa rin yung kay output. Kaya sabi dito, proportionate increase in output is more than that of the input. Dapat mas malaki pa rin yung output mo kaysa kay input mo. The next, number 2 bullet, no? When proportionate decrease in input is more than that of the output. So, ang ginawa naman niya rito, so para sa bullet number 2, we have output, and then ito naman yung ating input. Nag-decrease ka daw ng input. So, dapat mas malaki yung decrease mo kay input compared sa nag-decrease kay output. So, kapag ginawa mo yan, mas magiging malaki yung economic efficiency mo. Then, third, simultaneous increase in output and decrease in input. So, ang gagawin naman dito sa pangatlo, output over input. I-decrease mo si input and then increase mo si output. So, yan po yung mga ways to improve the economic efficiency or the productivity. The next is the definition and scope of engineering economics. So, engineering is defined as the profession in which knowledge of the mathematics and natural sciences gained by study, experience, and practice is applied with judgment to develop ways to utilize economically the material and forces of nature to the benefit of mankind. So, engineering, ginagamit natin yung knowledge natin kay math and science, then yung experience at yung practice natin, and then our expert judgment to develop ways or systems or processes that is economical. No? That is economical para po sa magiging benepisyo ng sangkatauhan or the mankind. Kapag economics naman, this is a social science that focuses on the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services and analyze the choices that individuals, businesses, governments, and nations made to allocate those resources. Basically, pag economics, pag-aaral siya dun sa pag-produce, pag-distribute, and pag-consume ng goods and services ng individual, business, government, and as a nation, no? And how do we allocate those resources para mapunan lahat ng mga needs natin. So, other matters, economics is the study of how people allocate scarce resources for production, distribution, and consumption both individually and collectively. So, there are two branches of economics which are microeconomics and macroeconomics. So, kapag microeconomics, tinitingnan dito yung mga individual or yung mga maliliit na parte ng economics kaya siya micro. Maliliit in a sense na tinitingnan dito yung it could be individual na pag-consume ng businesses and ng individual, no? And then mga inaral dito mga demand, supply, etc. Kumbaga maliit na scope yung hinahandle kapag ka microeconomics. Kapag macroeconomics kasi, this on a level na magiging national na siya and on a level na magiging global na yung inaaral mo rito, macroeconomics, no? Pang malawakan yung scope mo or pang malakihan yung inaaral mo na galaw. Then, economics focuses on efficiency in production and exchange. For gross domestic product naman or GDP, and consumer price index are widely used as economic indicators. Yung GDP kasi, kapag i-define natin yung GDP, okay, pag sabi natin GDP, this is the total market value of all the final goods and services produced within a country during a specific time period. So, kumbaga ito yung total na final goods and services na na-produce natin as a country, no? So, paano nga ba kinukuha yung GDP? So, merong formula yung GDP na yan. So, ito po yung kanyang magiging formula. GDP or the gross domestic product is equal to the consumption, yung amount ng consumption ng mga consumer. Kung paggastos or pag-spend, ano ba yung mga groceries mo, renta mo, yung mga healthcare services, plus amount ng investment ng business. Ito yung total spending nila on their physical assets, equipment, inventory, construction. Then, yung spending naman ng government. So, malaki kasi ang spending ng government, no? All public expenditures on salaries ng mga tao, infrastructure, in terms of its defense, expenses niya, public services. And then, the net export, ano? So, yan po ay X minus M. Yung X rito is yung export, yung M naman is yung imports. So, kasi pag nag-export ka, kumikita si country. Pag nag-import ka, syempre, nababawasan kasi ikaw yung bumibili, no? Kaya X minus M siya. So, yan po yung kanya magiging formula. And then, next naman, ano naman yung consumer price index. Kapag consumer price index naman, this is an economic metric that measures the average change over time in the prices paid by consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. Kasi guys, we have common, no, na mga bagay na binibili natin na napapaloob siya sa tinatawag natin na market basket of consumer goods and services. Halimbawa, para tayong bumibili ng bigas, pare-pares na tayong bumibili pagkain. Ano pa, gumagastos for our transportation, housing, education, medical care, etc. Yan yung mga common na gastos natin. So, tinitingnan natin dito is yung nagiging galaw ng presyo nun. Kasi di ba habang tumatakbo ang panahon, ang mga prices naman ng mga goods na yun is tumataas. Tumataas yung food, tumataas yung housing, yung mga damit na binibili natin, transportation, our medical care, yung education na ginagastos natin or ginagastos natin para magkaroon tayo ng education. Kumbaga parang magkano na ba yung nilalaan nating budget for every time na we're spending on those basket of goods. Kasi halimbawa, yung 500 pesos mo, no? Ilan yung magiging content nun for basket of goods? So ngayon, ilan yung magiging content nun? So before kasi iba naman yung presyo ng 500 noong 2010 sa 500 ngayon 2026. So kasi nag-iba na nga yung presyo. Ngayon, yung same goods and services na yun, kapag kinuha natin yung prices nun, makikita natin nagkaiba. So yun po yung mini-measure sa Consumer Price Index. And then as additional definition for engineering economics, in the process of managing organizations, the managers at different levels should take appropriate economic decisions which will help in minimizing investment or minimizing the cost lahat ng mga expenditure in terms of investment, operating, maintenance, expenditure. We want kasi na ma-minimize natin yung expenditure while increasing the revenue ng ating company, while increasing our savings and gains para sa ating organization. So yun so minimize natin yung expenditure or cost para kay company. Habang gusto natin mangyari, minamaximize naman natin yung magiging revenue or gain or profit or kinita para sa ating organization. Kaya apply natin si economics dun kay engineering. So ito rin yun sa definition. Engineering economics deals with the methods that enable one to take economic decisions. Dapat we can decide or we can create or we can have an economic decisions towards minimizing cost and or maximizing benefits to business organizations. Kaya hindi ka pwedeng magbigay ng suggestion without considering yung magiging cost, yung magiging halaga or magiging price. So dapat yan ay economically viable. So ito pa yung mga different scope for engineering economics. So yung iba po, they define the engineering economics as the dollar and cent sides of the decisions that engineer make or recommend. So basically, ito po ay yung financial side ng ating mga decisions as engineers as we work to position a firm to be profitable in a highly competitive marketplace. Kasi ang business is a competitive marketplace. So we want something na mura yung napoproduce nating goods and services. Dapat na minimize natin expenses na mapataas natin yung profit. And then, inherent to these decisions, we have trade-offs. Trade-offs means parang kapalit, Kasi kung gusto natin maging competitive and maging profitable, may mga trade-offs tayo na gagawin among different types of cost and the performance. Kasi di ba yung mga products, hindi naman talaga pare-parehas yan eh. For example, bumili ka ng bumili ka ng sasakyan. May mga sasakyan na, syempre maganda yung makina niya. Kaya niya sa mga matatarik na lugar, O di kaya mabilis siya umandar or mas efficient yung fuel niya. Kaya mataas ang kanyang presyo. May mga sasakyan din naman na kapag matarik na hirap ng umandar or hindi ganun ka-efficient in terms of of fuel consumption. May mga sasakyan din na kumbaga yung material niya or yung pagkakagawa sa material niya, yung parang gawa lang sa lata, di ba? Yung parang konting bangga lang, mayuyupi yung sasakyan. Malilit yung gulong niya or something like that, So, kung mapapansin mo, ginagawa natin, nagkakaroon tayo ng trade-off when producing something, At tinitrade off natin yung possible yung performance ng isang equipment or ng isang product para ma-accommodate natin yung na mabili ba ng mga consumer at at lower price. So ganun po no. So we have to balance trade-off. So ginagawa po natin, we are trading off different types of cost and the performance. Pwede siyang response time, weight, reliability. Etong safety, tinutukoy po dito na trade-off, hindi naman yung magiging unsafe. Ang ibig sabihin nito is, kasi unethical naman na iti-trade off mo yung safety, no? So, halimbawa, when you're constructing a building, so para makatipid si company, titipirin mo yung bakal, yung semento, etc. So, di mo gagawin mo yun. That is unethical. So, ibig sabihin, in terms of safety, dapat pasok pa din naman sa minimum. You can lessen, pero dapat pasok pa rin sa pinaka minimum standard. Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-trade off na magiging unsafe na siya or magiging risky na siya sa gumagamit. So you can use a different material or you can use a different substitute, ano? So pwedeng weight, pwedeng reliability, mga response time, etc. Ano? I-trade off natin si performance in terms of cost. And then, we can provide this proposed design or problem solution, no? Yung magiging solution sa mga problem. And then, the mission of engineering economy is to balance these trade-offs. So, you have to balance those trade-offs in the most economical manner. Okay, so merong example dito. For instance, if an engineer at Ford Motor Company invents a new transmission lubricant that increases fuel mileage by 10% and extends the life of the transmission by 30,000 miles, how much can the company afford to spend to implement this invention? So, isang engineer daw, naka-invento siya ng transmission lubricant. And ito yung kaya niyang gawin, no? 10% increase, na-extend niya yung life of the transmission by 30,000 miles. So, magkano yung pwede nilang i-invest, no, for that implementation ng invention na yun or that product. Kasi they have to consider, no, ito lang naman yung 10% yung naging increase and 30,000 miles naman yung naging extension sa transmission life ng ating sasakyan. So they need to study, no, yung magiging implementation niyan. Kasi di mo pwede na ibenta nilang sobrang mahal yan. Baka mas mahal pa sasakyan yung lubricant, ano? So, they have to pag-isipan nila maigi mag-implementation and magiging pricing niyan. Kasi nga, malaking factor yung price talaga pagdating sa produkto. Okay, so ito pa po yung mga ibang application ng engineering economics. Choosing the best design for a high-efficiency gas furnace. So, you can choose a gas furnace that is more efficient pero mas mahal, or a gas furnace that is less efficient pero kaya nyo naman yung price. And then, the best design, no? Best design. Depende sa magiging process nyo. Selecting the most suitable robot for welding operation on an automotive assembly line. Kasi these are products with high acquisition cost. So, kailangan pag-isipan maigi magiging presyo and yung magiging economic benefit naman yan sa company kapag nag-acquire ka ng mga ganyang technology. Making a recommendation about whether jet airplanes for an overnight delivery service should be purchased or leased. So, pag-isipan mo, mas mura bang mag-purchase in the long run or mas mura na magrenta ka na lang, mag-lease na lang, no? I-rent nyo na lang. So, you can use different computations para dyan, ano? And then, i-compare mo siya. Then, to determine the optimal staffing plan for a computer help desk. So, kasama rin yung pag-manage ng labor cost, ano? From these illustrations, it should be obvious that engineering economy includes significant technical considerations. Thus, engineering economy involves technical analysis with emphasis on the economic aspects and thus the objective of assisting decisions. So, every time you make a decision, you have to think yung magiging economic effect niyan, no? Yung magiging viability niya. Magiging financially viable ba yan or hindi? Mapapagastos ba si company? Na may minimize ba yung cost or hindi? Magiging worth it ba yung gagawin mong trade-off? Okay, so yun lang po no, and yung next part 2 will be discuss